Hi guys! For today's sewing tutorial, I am going to show you guys how to make some pantaloons. So this is the basic pattern that I'm going to be using. This is a Holly Hobby costume pattern. And I found this material on eBay and I thought it just looked perfect for a pair of pantaloons. It's a very thin material, so I thought it would be really good for summer when you just need an extra layer underneath your skirt or underneath your pants. And I made the pattern just a little bit bigger, I think about 2 sizes bigger, because large was the biggest size I could make out of the pattern. And this is the pantaloons ruffle. So for the ruffle, I didn't need to make any kind of modifications. I just used it as is. And on the outside of the material, I am doing an overlock stitch. And this is to keep the material from fraying. So this will just make it easier to work with. And this is a very simple stitch, but it is the slowest part of making these pantaloons. Is just getting those few extra stitches on the ends. But it is worthwhile. You can usually tell after a few washings of a garment if you haven't done any kind of fray protection. Your material will start to fray, and you're going to find loose strands of your fabric. So this just prevents that. Just if it's something that you plan to wear for years to come, definitely take the extra time and do your overlock stitch. And this is how it's looking. And I'm just starting to sew the pieces together. So for my basic straight stitch, I'm doing a couple of stitches, and then the next stitch I'm going over the last stitch. This is just gonna create a very sturdy stitch. So this is for the ruffle. So I've already sewn the edges to the ends together. And what I'm doing is just a very loose stitch all around. And you wanna make sure you're going to be using a very long piece of thread so you can pull it all at the same time. So once you've finished all of your gathering and your ruffle is fitting to the bottom of your pants, what you should do is use some kind of clips or pins. I'm a big fan of the clips. I started using the clips a few years ago and I'm a big fan. You don't have to poke little holes in your fabric. And I think it actually helps the pieces stay put a lot better. And these clips also serve a secondary purpose. They also provide the measurement of 1/2 inch. So it just, if you're going to be using half an inch when you're sewing, it just makes it a lot easier. That you don't even have to measure. And when I'm sewing the pieces together, I'm going to be using the same straight stitch that I used before, where I make a couple of stitches, and then the next one I go over the last stitch. Just trying to create a really sturdy stitch that's going to stand the test of time. So this is the bottom part of the ruffle, and I'm measuring 1/2 inch, and I'm folding it over, and then folding it over one more time. This is just gonna make it really easy just to stitch up. I've got all of the naked edges stitched up with some overlock stitching, and I've just kind of hid it under the bottom, so even if some of the threads do come loose for some reason, they are well protected over a couple of layers. So again, this is the bottom part of the pantaloons. This is the part that is most likely to get snagged or, brushed up against things. So I thought a couple of layers of fabric will just make it easier to just prevent any kind of snagging that might occur. So for sewing up the bottom, so this is 1/2 inch, and I decided just to bring my stitch in about 1 square. So so it's not at the very end of the material. So to give me just a little bit of wiggle room and make sure it's going to be a really sturdy stitch. And this is the waistband, and it's about 1 inch, where I folded over the material once and then folded it again. And it's just such a thin material, and it's just gonna be really light. So even with 2 layers of material, it's still gonna be very comfortable. I'm using the red clips to mark the parts that I'm not going to sew. So the waistband is going to include some elastic. So after we do all the stitching, then we're going to thread some elastic through it. So you want an opening so you can thread the elastic. And it's really easy when you start sewing just to keep on sewing. So that red usually catches my eye and reminds me that I need to stop sewing and leave a little room for the elastic. And for the stitch itself, it's just going to be a straight stitch like I've done in previous stitching, where I just do a few stitches. And then for the next stitch, I actually go over the last stitch. So it's going to make a really strong stitch. And remember, on the waistband, you're going to get a lot of wear and tear. That's the part where you're going to be putting them on and taking them off, and that fabric is going to be tugged at a lot more than other parts. So you want to make sure it's a really good sturdy stitch. And I always add my little tag on my clothes. I think it's kind of fun just to be able to say that I sewed this. And it goes on the back of the waistband, so you always know which way you need to put them on. And this is how it looks when it's finished. I just love the ruffle. It's got some really good stitching there. And it's just going to be light and airy and just perfect for a summer day. Just something fun to wear under a skirt. Thank you everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.